Hi there. Welcome to today's live class on insurance billing and Healthie. We still have a small group here, but I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll introduce Allie and then we can go ahead and get started with the content today. So, my name is Avanti. I apologize. I'm keeping my camera off just for internet bandwidth reasons. But I am a customer success manager here at Healthie. But really, I am here to introduce Allie, who will be running us through the webinar today. She has a lot of experience with billing and Healthie. I won't go into too many specifics on this slide here, but we are really, really excited to have her to be teaching this series on insurance billing and Healthie. So this is, I believe, wow, I lost track. I think this is our fourth session.
This
The
is a
focus of
fifth.
fifth session. Thank you,
Yes.
Allie. The focus of today's session is billing for secondary insurance in Healthie. So I'll go ahead and pass it off to Allie. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to drop them in either the chat or the Q&A section. And then also this session is being recorded, so you will receive a recording at the end of it. Allie, I will leave it to you.
Great. Thank you, Avante. Good day, everybody. Today we're talking about billing secondary insurance in Healthie. So this session will give you the tools you need to efficiently manage secondary insurance claims and improve your billing process. The agenda today is how to collect and store secondary insurance in Healthie, understand the billing workflow, submitting to primary payer and handling secondary claims, and tips for managing claim rejections and ensuring successful billing for secondary insurance. First of all, collecting and storing the secondary insurance. Make sure you're asking the patients if they have secondary insurance. Um, and within Healthie, you're able to collect and store the secondary insurance details within the client's profile. So on that first actions form, you'll go down to insurance. Right here, add policy. This will allow you to store multiple insurance on file for the client. And then make sure that the policy type is secondary. And then always keep a copy of the front and back of the card on file in your documents. Now, the workflow for submitting secondary claims. So the first thing is submit the claim to the primary insurance for processing. If they deny it or there's still a patient responsibility, then you want to make sure that you download the EOB showing the patient responsibility. If you're not getting a clear EOB off of your clearinghouse, you can go to the actual insurance payer and download an EOB. And then you will submit submit another claim to the secondary payer. Now, how do you submit to a secondary payer? There's a couple of options. If you're going to do via Healthie, just submit the claim to the secondary insurance from Healthie and wait for the denial. You can go into the insurance website and attach the primary EOB and ask the insurance to reconsider and see attached. And at that point, you can attach the EOB. They will process the reconsideration based off of the EOB and the patient responsibility. Option 2, which is outside of Healthie, if your clearinghouse has an attachment option, you can send the secondary claim directly within the clearinghouse and then attach the primary EOB. Or option 3, outside of Healthie, if the clearinghouse does not have the attachment option, you can always send the secondary go to the secondary insurance website and create a claim there and attach the primary EOB there. So there's a few options. Sometimes it's easier to just submit the secondary claim and then just go in and attach the EOB. But again, you have some options, whatever you think is easiest and better is the way you do it. It's not the funnest thing handling secondary insurances, I will say that, but you want to make sure that you're getting paid for all of your services and hoping that the patient doesn't have any pocket out of pocket.
Hi, sorry, can I cut you
So-
off for a second?
Sure, sure,
We
sure.
had a question come in that is just relevant to the previous slide.
Okay.
Someone said, why would we submit on Healthy if we're just expecting a denial?
Well, you have to have that EOB. The secondary insurance will not process the claim without the denial from the primary insurance. The other insurance does not know that the primary insurance is going to deny it because it's not covered or for whatnot. They have to have the EOB from the primary insurance stating that it denied. Unfortunately, that's why having a secondary insurance can be such a pain, is for just that reason. So you have to send it to the primary first and collect that EOB so the secondary knows that you did that.
Thanks, Sally. And is
Mhm.
there any difference if I guess the question was even if it's Medicare? So I'm
So
guessing it.
yes, so Medicare will submit their denial to federal insurances. I haven't had very many other secondary insurances. The supplemental policies won't cover. So I'll tell you that right now. If the patient comes in and they have Medicare and it's one of the diagnosis codes that is not covered, you cannot send it. Supplemental is not considered a secondary policy. It has to be a true secondary policy. For example, if you're in the state of Texas, well, actually, if you're anywhere, the government Blue Cross Blue Shield FEP is a government insurance. It's not a supplemental, it is an insurance policy. And Medicare will automatically send that if you have an ABN on file and you have processed your claim with that ABN modifier, which is I just drew a blank. GA modifier has to be attached showing that they have signed an ABN and they know that any out of pocket or patient responsibility is now the secondary insurance. Again, a supplemental policy does not cover, like if you're a dietitian, it only covers what Medicare covers. So a supplemental policy won't work. Now, if you're not a dietitian and you're sending it to the secondary, if a supplemental might pay for copays or deductibles for something other than dietitian, then that's when the supplemental can work. But for dietitians, the supplemental policies do not work. You need an actual insurance, legitimate government, and it's mostly government insurances that are still covering people for secondary insurances if they have Medicare. So just know that it's supplemental only works for covered benefits of Medicare. So did that answer the question? I'm hoping.
Seems like it.
Okay. All right. So tips for managing claim rejections. Okay. Always ask the client if they have a secondary insurance. Um, Knowing it up front can prevent, wondering why the claim came back rejected. Okay. Knowing that they have a secondary insurance, you expect it to either reject or have maybe patient responsibility. Okay. If they aren't sure, when you go in to just, I don't know if you're verifying, you're having the patient, you might want to just log on, because you can log on to the websites and see what their deductible and co-insurance is, because the patient may not know that, didn't ask that question. It's not very long. It's like a 2 to 3 second um, jump on, enter in their member ID. And usually it will have on there if there is secondary payer or primary payer. So you can do that. If you're verifying the insurance prior to the appointment, you want to ask if they have any secondary insurance or are you primary. That just helps, because a lot of times clients don't even know. Kids, like say an 18-year-old, parents are divorced, no clue. They don't know. Okay. And because of the different nuances with um, what's primary, what's secondary, they're definitely not going to know that either. I mean, most kids don't even know their parents' date of birth. So usually it's based off of date of birth. However, if in a divorce, the mom doesn't work and stepdad has the insurance, it's just there's so many different nuances that if you know them all, then great for you. I have to look it up or I will call the insurance. I know a lot of what the who's secondary, primary, all of that kind of stuff rules, but I still have to look it up just to make sure because I don't see it very often and I forget. And so it's best if you ask the insurance if they know and then just verify that, the client could have lost that other coverage and did not update their COB information with the insurance. Um, One of the other claim rejections that you might have is that they're saying that another insurance is primary. I didn't put this on there because I put it on another class where we talk about denials, but where, like, for example, it still denies for other insurance is primary. Okay. In that case, your insurance, if you have insurance, you may know this, you may not realize it, but most insurances will send out, do you have other coverage letter? If you do not answer that, the claims will start denying. All of their claims will start denying, not just yours, because they never filled it out. So once that happens, if you call the patient and they say, no, I don't have any other insurance information, they have to call the insurance and tell them you can't do it. The patient has to, or the member has to call their insurance payer and get that straightened out. Normally, that phone call will um, start the process for adjustments for all of their claims once they call in. So that usually fixes the issue. So I would wait just a little while, see if those claims come back, and they should come back paid. So I don't really have anything to screen share because we kind of showed them in there. So any more questions? We have we have 14 minutes for questions, so you guys are able to chat away.
Seeing if anything comes in. And since we have time, if you guys have any questions unrelated to this specific topic, but related to insurance billing and healthy, you're welcome to use this time to get those answered with Sally as well.
Yes. We want to use your time wisely.
All right. Doesn't look like there are any questions. Allie and okay, I see one more question. So this is going back to the original question about supplemental insurance and Medicare. So, Allie, maybe you actually just want to read it in the chat so that
Sure.
it makes the most sense to you.
How does supplemental insurance work with Medicare? We are a therapy practice, Medicare covers 80. Okay, so in this case, you could submit it to the supplemental insurance like Medigap. If if um if the supplemental policy covers therapy, which I think it does, but don't quote me on that only because I'm more mind focused on dietitian work. But if I remember correctly, Medicare does cover therapy. So they would cover the 20%. That is correct. So how the supplemental policies work is if it's a covered benefit, okay, and you have a deductible, co-insurance, copay, the supplemental policy will cover those expenses if it's a covered benefit. For example, if I'm using the dietitians as um a example, they cover diabetes, end-stage renal, and at 100%. So there is no co-insurance deductible or anything like that. So there's no need for the supplemental. But in your case, because therapy would be covered by Medicare, then the supplemental, you just said that Medicare covers 80. Sorry, I had a brain issue there. Sorry. So Medicare covers at 80%. The supplemental policy covers what Medicare covers and pays the balance. So they would pay your additional 20%. Sorry, went a long way around that, but yes, the supplemental will pay that. I don't think you would need an EOB to answer that question. If Medicare knows that there's a supplemental policy on file, then you should be able to, if they should map that over. But again, you're going to need an ABN. They need to know that the patient has assigned an ABN, and you need to attach that modifier GA so that they know that. Then Medicare will send it to the supplemental insurance. Can you bill supplemental insurance in Healthy? If it has a payer ID, you should be able to. Now, whether or not your clearinghouse has the ability to bill that, you can go into your clearinghouse and see if that payer ID is also covered. But again, I think Medicare will automatically send that to you as long as you have the GA modifier on the claim and an ABN on file. You're very welcome.
Great question.
Yes, there's a question all the time. A lot of it, not just providers, patients don't realize that the supplemental policy is like like I said, for dietitians, it doesn't work at all, but for therapists or things like that, it would be covered if Medicare covers it. So you should be good.
All right. Any other questions?
Got 9 minutes if anybody has any more. If not, we do have the resources and support, so you can email for the replay of today's class. General questions to hello@gethealthy.com, and then the Healthy University for pre-recorded feature tutorials. So any of the classes that I've done previously should be there. And then next week's class is, hold on, I have it up here somewhere. Tracking claims is the next class. In that class, you'll just simplify your claims tracking and improve your insurance billing. What some of the things denials and things like that. So any information related to health coaching. Are you credentialed with insurances, Stacy? If
Stacy,
you're
sorry to cut you off, Allie. That's a great question.
okay, you have an
So
MPI, but you aren't credentialed with the insurance, then I would suggest billing a super bill and letting the patients bill to their insurance. And if they have out of network benefits, I would just have them pay you if you're not credentialed, because you wouldn't get any reimbursement not being credentialed. But if you do get credentialed with an insurance company, they would send your fee schedules and the procedure codes that you could bill.
Thanks, Sally.
Yeah.
All right. If there aren't any other questions, as Ali mentioned, there's a bunch of resources online for you guys. You can always email hello@gethealthy.com. And we will be here next week at same time, same place for next week's session. But you do have to sign up individually for each session. So if you have questions about that, feel free to email us and we can make sure you get registered. All right. Thank you, everyone, so much.
Thank
Have a great
you.
rest of your day. Thanks, Ali.
Thanks, Avanti. Have a great day.